So I found out I was pregnant 3 weeks after I got pregnant, and I was living in an apartment, and I wasn't ready to tell my parents yet, and probably 3 months along, I decided to tell them. At this point, I already pretty much had chosen adoption and gone to LDS services and another facility, just deciding that's probably what I want to do. I wrote a letter to my parents, very detailed and pretty much just saying I'm pregnant and I'm placing the child for adoption. And I took them out to pizzeria for dinner, and we ate dinner, and I didn't eat a lot because I was nervous. And then I just said, I have something for you guys, and I handed them each a letter, and they read it, and I thought they would just disown me. But my mom actually didn't cry, which I was shocked about, but my dad cried. And at that point I was trying to decide if I was gonna move into another apartment or not. And my dad said, no, move home. You know, this is where you need to be. And that was very nice of them. And it ended up being a really big blessing. So that's how did you feel about it?
How did I feel about it? Like, I didn't know that I was going to experience this in my lifetime. So it was really unique. It was brand new. I didn't realize that. So it was shocking. But also the reality of it is that whatever your decision was what I wanted to support you at and help you with that.
It also was their first grandchild, so I thought that would be really hard for them, just being a first grandchild and then me deciding to do adoption. So yeah.
I found out I was pregnant, and I kind of knew I was, but I just held it off. I was at work. I worked at a daycare at the time, and my co-teacher, she's like, Lyndi, go take a test. It's like, I want to. So she went and bought the test for me. I took it at work, and I was like, crap. So I'm bawling, and my boss is like, it's okay. I'm like, no, it's not okay. So she told me I could go home. I went straight to her work, because she's a teacher, and I pulled her out of class and told her, and I'm bawling, and she's like, what's wrong? I was like, you're gonna hate me. She's like, what's wrong? I was like, I'm pregnant. And we cried in the hallway, and then she told me to go home, and she was gonna find somebody to take her classes so she could come home so we could talk about it more. And on her way home, she called my dad, and he came home. It was hard telling my dad, and I figured he would be, like, they would both be really upset with me, but they took it really well compared to what I thought they were gonna take it. And so when we went to the doctor that day, we did the test and everything was positive, and we went home and talked with my dad and told my dad how we felt, and it was a hard day. I think I cried for like 2 weeks after that. How did you feel?
It was a hard day. You have so many dreams and hopes for your child, and when something comes along to upset that apple cart, and you immediately think, oh, it's over. Her life is over. You know, our lives will never be the same. You know, she's ruined her life. It was a devastating experience, but then immediately something kicks in and you say to yourself, now wait a minute. You know, she's not dead. She's still with us. And this is something that we can overcome as a family. And that was basically the goal, is how do we do this as a family? This is not our first traumatic experience with a child. It was this type. It was. We'd never had a child get pregnant before, but we had things happen in our family, and we'd always been able to overcome it. We'd always been able to pull together as a family. Lyndi's the youngest of 4 children, and Her 3 older siblings were all married with children of their own, and so they've always looked out for her, and this was no different. And we just knew from the very beginning, after that instant of feeling that devastation, the next instant was, okay, now how do we overcome this? How do we help Lyndi? How do we get through this? And it happens, and it works.
When I first found out my daughter was pregnant, when she presented us with the letters, it was confusing, it was new, and it was hard. But as soon as I found out about it, like you mentioned, my focus became, what's the best thing for my daughter, and what's the best thing for this child? It was a difficult time, but she had it under control in the sense that she had done some research, she knew what she was going to do, and it was a difficult thing, placing for adoption. But since that time, 5 years ago, the pain was extreme at the placement, as extreme as was the joy at the placement. Since that time, 5 years later, the joy has outweighed the pain by 10 to 1. It's an amazing thing, adoption, saving this child's life. The family was blessed by getting this young daughter. It's been great, and we have a great relationship with them. So.
I totally agree. We felt the same thing. It was, now looking back on it, who would have believed that we could have so much joy and have so much love in our family through this experience. We've grown to love the adopted parents. They've become our kids, and their children call us grandma and grandpa, all of them. And we, it's wonderful to experience that and know that we have that relationship, and we'll have that relationship for the rest of our lives. And Lyndi is just such an honored person in their family. It's so special, this relationship that we have.
So there's a lot of hope.
A lot of hope.
It's difficult at first because it's new, but there's a lot of hope if it's dealt with properly.
And it comes quickly. It comes quickly because you see those adoptive parents treating your daughter as this wonderful person who's making this extreme sacrifice. And you know that that's true. We saw that in Lyndi as well, and I'm sure you've seen it in your daughter. You know that what they're doing is the right thing and for the right reason, and it just puts everybody on a higher plane.